This episode of Man of Prestige. If she's always spent more time with you and she still spent more time with you, then you have other issues. So this is not a sign that you should stay with her. But if she never spent time with you and this was one of your complaints and you feel like you can't get her attention, you needed some attention, you're clingy, you're needy, which is bad, by the way. But she's starting to kind of show that she wants to be there, she's spending more time with you, that is probably a sign that you should keep her. See, when people, the real simps of this world are very quick to discount ancient wisdom, right? Things like it's cheaper to keep her. That is very true in a lot of ways, but you may not be able to see that if you're not thinking long term. If you're thinking short term, you're thinking like, no, you should just exercise all your options, and no, don't keep her, it's not cheaper, no, to hell with her, she belongs in the street. This may be your rhetoric. All right, Man of Prestige, what's up? 5 signs you should not break up with her. Okay, so you're in a place you feel like maybe you should break out, maybe you shouldn't. Break up or maybe not. Leave, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should hang around a little bit longer. Maybe you should hold on to her a little bit longer. Maybe she was just caught up in the moment. She's loud, she's masculine, she's all of these different things. Things that you don't find attractive, things that are frustrating your life, things that make you feel less peace in your relationship, right? And you're wondering, should I break up? Should I call it quits? Well, first of all, the fact that you couldn't decide that on your own is probably a simple behavior, but it's okay. We've all been there, okay? Life is not about learning or knowing everything you're supposed to do. That is a facade that a lot of people try to put on. The best of us, sometimes we're not too clear, we're not too sure about the right move, we're not sure what the next right move is, right? So it's okay if you're feeling that way. See, breakups are hard, and it's important not to do anything that will make the situation worse. You could break up with her and that could mean the situation is worse for you, not necessarily because a good girl left you, maybe she's such a bad girl, but it could also mean that you're carrying this trauma over into the next relationship, right? There's never a right time to break up. It's always going to suck, okay? It's always going to hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt. That's just how it works, right? So you want to make sure that some certain bases are covered before you make that decision. But I'm going to give you 5 signs that you should not break up with her. Sign number 5, she's interested in making it work, okay? Let me tell you something. It's not a lot of girls that will be interested in making things work, okay? A lot of women are generally, they have narcissistic traits. Even if they're wrong, they may not necessarily be willing to apologize or concede. Yes, they have their own ego, right? And sometimes it has to do with a sense of insecurity. They don't feel like you valued them when they were vulnerable in the past. So they put up this wall, and that could be the kind of game that she's playing. Well, life is a game. Romance is also a game. It's not a joke, but it can be a game, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. So if you have a woman who is willing to work on it, that is not as common as you think that it is out there. It's not that common, okay? Why is it that many people are complaining right now that they can't find a wife to marry? It's because good wife, just like good husbands, it's not that common everywhere, okay? At least not on the internet, okay? By the way, a lot of people are married, happily married out there. The problem is that you hear the bad news for the most part, okay? For obvious reasons, right? Sign number 4, she still wants to be with you. If she wants to be with you, that's like first checklist that you should check, right? But there's a but, right? But if she wants to be with you, that's probably a good sign that you probably doesn't want to break up with her. Now, this can cross the line of, do you have better options out there? I always want you to feel like you have better options out there. Does that mean you have to exercise those options? Absolutely not, okay? Because here's why. Not because of her, not because you want to simp to her. It's because exercising certain options is not always good for you long term. In the short term, it may feel good, but in the long term, it's not always the best to exercise all the options you have. for the long term. So you have to look at things closely when you talk about exercising options out there. But I do want you to feel like you have options, because there's a sense of confidence that comes with that is extremely attractive to the ladies. Sign number 3, she's spending more time with you than before. So this is with respect to before. If she's always spent more time with you and she still spent more time with you, then you have other issues. So this is not a sign that you should stay with her. But if she never spent time with you and this was one of your complaints, and you feel like you can't get her attention, you needed some attention, you're clingy, you're needy, which is bad, by the way, but she's starting to kind of show that she wants to be there, she's spending more time with you, that is probably a sign that you should keep her. See, when people, the real simps of this world are very quick to discount ancient wisdom, right? Things like it's cheaper to keep her. That is very true in a lot of ways, but you may not be able to see that if you're not thinking long term. If you're thinking short term, you're thinking like, no, you should just exercise all your options, and no, don't keep her, it's not cheaper, no, to hell with her, she belongs in the street. This may be your rhetoric, this may be your talking points, okay? But I'm talking about people that care about long term, because long term comes very quickly, right? You don't want to be in a situation where like, oh, I lost out on a good girl because I wasn't patient enough. So with that being said, this could be a sign. Any of the signs could be a sign. They're not absolutes, okay? So if she's spending more time with you than before, it could be a good sign that you guys are actually evolving to something really good for long term. Sign number 2, you can still see a future with her. This is a big deal. So if you remember one of the previous signs about she still wants you, that's not enough if you don't have sign number 2, which is you can still see a future with her. That means you're attracted to her, not just short term, but long term, right? If this aligns with sign number 4 that I gave you earlier, she still wants to be with you, and you actually still see a future with her, but you've been watching some YouTube videos and you feel like you may have options that you should exercise, I would be very, very careful with that, okay? I would just relax, okay? You could be friends with other people and then figure out, see, at the end of the day, it's about vibes. As much as we try to bring everything down to an exact science, right? If the vibes are feeling right, embrace it. When you embrace it, you're actually appreciating it. Whatever you appreciate expands, okay? So I would say faith versus fear. This is something you always want to have at the back of your mind. Sign number 1, she's consistent. So if she's made a mess of herself and you're feeling like you want to forgive, or she was on the street, and you feel like you're in this, some people say, don't get with her because she belongs to the street. No, that's bullshit. It's very hard to come across feminine women that are actually ready to settle. It's very hard. So don't lose a good girl if you feel like it's a good girl, okay? But you actually want her to be consistent over time. If she does a lot of flaky stuff, then you do the opposite. But if she's consistent, right? You've waited a little bit of time and you're wondering if you break up because of something that happened like a while back, you're having a hard time forgiving. If she's consistent, that's very, very hard to come by. So I would relax and reassess things very well. Nothing I said in this video is absolute. Make sure that you assess things very well. But those are the 5 signs. You may want to rewind and go over it again, that you probably should not break up with her.